What is up, my friends? Welcome to Flippin' Bats, where the off-season rolls on, the winter meetings are underway, and we have a new Hall of Fame inductee. We got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about the Hall of Fame, the Contemporary Baseball Era Committee, which did this recent vote, who's in, who didn't get in, some of the big moves that have been made in the last couple of weeks. There haven't been a ton, but I do expect a lot to happen over the winter meetings over the next few days. So I think we'll probably have another episode before the following Monday, because I think from this point onward, we're about to have some stuff starting to unfold. The winter meetings is kind of what always kicks things off, and some big moves come down from here. But what we've seen so far over the last couple of weeks, Mets signed Devin Williams, New York Yankees, no longer. He goes there for 1 year. Changes the facial hair policy of the entire organization in the history of the New York Yankees. That's gone, and so is he. He now signs with the New York Mets. A down year for Devin Williams, but the advanced numbers, the advanced analytics for him look far better than his numbers did on a whole. So the Mets signed Devin Williams to be at the back end of the bullpen. Is it their closer? Do they get Edwin Diaz back and he moves to the eighth? Who knows? But Devin Williams to the Mets. The Red Sox traded for Sonny Gray in an interesting move that involved taking on his big contract, sending some money back there as well. And Dylan Cease, a big pitcher on the market, has signed with the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays, after getting to the World Series, are just going for it. They're seemingly in on Kyle Tucker. They're in on Bo Bichette and trying to retain him. There's a lot of names the Blue Jays are in on. And they do add Dylan Cease to that rotation that now looks nasty. They added Cody Ponce as well from the KBO MVP last year. I like Cody Ponce a lot. Friend of mine, absolute stud. So now that rotation is simply filthy. Kevin Gausman, Dylan Cease, Trey Savage, Jose Barrios, Cody Ponce. The names go on. They're nasty. But what I did want to talk about today, because over the weekend on Sunday, we got another Hall of Fame vote. The Contemporary Baseball Era Committee held their vote. The results were released, and I have a lot of thoughts. So, Hall of Fame vote just took place via this committee. It is a separate vote from the typical Baseball Writers Association ballot that we most typically see players get into the Hall of Fame. This is a 16-member committee that is made up of Hall of Famers, executives, journalists, but the Hall of Famers include Fergie Jenkins, Jim Catt, Juan Marichal, Tony Perez, Ozzie Smith, Alan Trammell, and Robin Yount. So a bit of a different feel to this committee. It's not just a bunch of baseball writers voting on their ballot for who gets in. This is kind of a backup committee, a contemporary baseball era committee to potentially right a wrong or have a different opinion than the baseball writers. So the deal with this committee, 16 voters. You need 12 votes to get in. 12 of 16 gets you in. Now, some new rules began this year with this committee. If you receive less than 5 votes, you are off the ballot the next time this committee votes in 3 years. Off the ballot entirely. Committee can only vote for a max of 3 players. Now, if you get less than 5 votes and you are off the ballot in 3 years, you can once again be on in 6 years, the following time, where if you do not get 5 votes there, you are permanently off and ineligible and not able to get into the Hall of Fame officially. So this year, bunch of big names on here. We had Jeff Kent, Carlos Delgado, Don Mattingly, Dale Murphy, Barry Bonds was on this, Roger Clemens, Gary Sheffield, Fernando Valenzuela. So here's how the vote shook out. We have a new Major League Baseball Hall of Famer, and his name is Jeff Kent. 14 of 16 votes. Jeff Kent. San Francisco Giants legend, second baseman, gets in with 14 of 16. Carlos Delgado, 9 of 16, falls short. So does Don Mattingly, 6 of 16, and Dale Murphy, also 6 of 16, leaving these 4 guys with less than 5 votes and off of the ballot next time in 3 years. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Gary Sheffield and Fernando Valenzuela received less than 5 votes. So first off, congratulations to Jeff Kent. Kent gets in on a star-studded ballot with a lot of different talking points, right? There's some steroid guys involved. There's some suspected steroid guys involved. There's Donnie Baseball, Yankees legend, an all-time legend. There's Jeff Kent, who is yet to get in, who people think should, who people think shouldn't. There's Dale Murphy. Let's start with Jeff Kent, the guy that did ultimately get in. Congratulations to Jeff Kent. Jeff Kent has career numbers: 290 batting average, 560 doubles, 377 homers, and 984 extra base hits. Let's make one thing clear. Along with an MVP award, those numbers are elite. Jeff Kent's career numbers are elite, no matter what position you're talking about on a baseball field. But you add in the fact that he's a middle infielder, a second baseman at that, putting up those numbers. He's the all-time leader in home runs for second baseman in Major League Baseball history. That is deserving of a plaque in Cooperstown, in my opinion. So I get that when Jeff Kent was inducted, it leads to conversations about other players who weren't inducted into the Hall of Fame, who may or may not have been more deserving than Jeff Kent to get into the Hall of Fame. Cut that out. We can have those conversations, but it should not come at the expense of Jeff Kent becoming a Hall of Famer. Jeff Kent deserves his plaque in Cooperstown, and now it will be there. Congratulations to Jeff Kent. Absolutely. I do think ultimately he deserves to get in. Career home run leader, all-time leader for second baseman in home runs. That means something. Position you play means something. He's a second baseman with the most homers ever, a great player, an MVP award winner with a 290 career batting average and 377 homers. These are great numbers. Add in that he's a second baseman. I think he's a Hall of Famer. So congratulations to Jeff Kent. He is the one and only player this year via the Contemporary Baseball Era Committee to get in to the Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Jeff Kent. Now, I will say, of these players involved, if you were to say, give me your top 3 players that you think have a chance to get in between Jeff Kent, Carlos Delgado, Don Mattingly, Dale Murphy, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Gary Sheffield, and Valenzuela, I don't know if I would have Jeff Kent in my top 3. In fact, I don't think I would. I don't. Now, does that mean he's not a Hall of Famer? Absolutely not. I think he deserves to be into the Hall of Fame. Let's talk about Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds. What a conversation this is when it comes to the Hall of Fame. I've been vocal about my opinion with Barry Bonds in the past and where he stands. Barry Bonds was on this ballot to potentially get in. You simply can't have a museum of the greatest baseball players of all time and not have Barry Bonds be a part of it. He's the all-time leader in home runs at 762. He's the all-time record holder for home runs in a single season at 73. The most MVP awards ever with 7, and it's not even particularly close. The 400 club, 400 homers, 400 stolen bases, before ever even suspected of PEDs. Barry Bonds is the greatest hitter in baseball history. He was a Hall of Fame baseball player before he was ever suspected of PEDs, and he's a Hall of Fame baseball player as we sit here today. I'm not here to argue that Barry Bonds didn't take steroids. That's not my argument. But what I will say is he was a Hall of Famer before. He never once tested positive for PEDs under Major League Baseball's official mandatory drug testing program. Was never suspended. Again, I'm not trying to argue he didn't take them. But when there are players in the Hall of Fame that have used PEDs before, why are we drawing the line at the greatest hitter of all time that was never suspended for PEDs? He's a Hall of Famer. You can't have a museum with the greatest baseball players ever and not have him be a part of it. The object of the contemporary ballot should be to right the wrong that is the Hall of Fame gatekeeping. There isn't a rule. We've just all of a sudden gone down this path that if you've been even linked to steroids, you're not getting in. And Barry Bonds is seemingly the poster child of that because of how good he was. Barry Bonds is the greatest hitter ever, and he should be in the Hall of Fame. And in fact, I think there's multiple players that have been linked to steroids or PEDs or tested positive that I think deserve to be a part of the Museum of the Greatest Baseball Players Ever. And I've said this before, if you want to create a wing, a steroid era wing of the Hall of Fame, do it. But we can't just omit this part of baseball history. The steroid era is certainly a massive part of the history of the game of baseball. The all-time leader in home runs played baseball during that time. The all-time leader in Cy Young Awards played baseball in that time. We have a Hall of Fame right now without so many of the game's greatest ever for different reasons. Barry Bonds, all-time home run leader, single-season home run leader, MVP leader. Roger Clemens, Cy Young Award winner leader. Pete Rose, all-time hits leader. I'm not arguing he should be in. I'm just saying the Hall of Fame currently doesn't have a lot of the game's greatest ever. And Barry Bonds, to me, feels like this line where the Hall of Fame gatekeepers drew it at him and said, nope, we are done. If you're linked to steroids, you're not getting in. But to me, the line should not start with Barry Bonds. He should be in the Hall of Fame. And this contemporary ballot felt like a way to right a wrong, and they didn't. Barry Bonds is a Hall of Famer. He's the greatest hitter of all time. He should be in the Hall of Fame. And I'm not saying it shouldn't come with a little bit of a caveat, or it shouldn't come with an explanation of what time he played and what he might have done. But we shouldn't omit that time from history. It's not omitted from the record books. It's a big part of the game of baseball. People loved watching baseball during this time. Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa brought fans back to the game of baseball. And Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame. Again, put up a wing that dives into the history of the steroid era in baseball and explain to everyone there what happened, but how good these players were. But not having them there at all feels wrong to me. Barry Bonds is a Hall of Fame baseball player. Absolutely. Another guy that did not get in, he did receive more than 6 votes. That's the thing with Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds received less than 5 votes, meaning in 3 years when this committee meets again, he will not be on the ballot. In 6 years, he will be on it, where if one more time he receives less than 5 votes, he will never be in. He's off the ballot for good. And I certainly hope that doesn't happen. Dale Murphy did not get in as well. He received 6 votes. Dale Murphy's another guy I want to talk about here. Because if you're going to have this unwritten bad guy clause when it comes to voting for the Hall of Fame that keeps players out of the Hall of Fame that may be on the bubble, where's the contrast of that? Where's the contrast of the bad guys clause? Why hasn't Dale Murphy gotten in yet? Where's the good guy clause? Dale Murphy was the most dominant player of the 1980s. Back-to-back MVP awards, 7-time All-Star, 5-time Gold Glove, 4-time Silver Slugger, and on top of everything he did on the field during the 80s, one of the most dominant 6-year stretches we've ever seen, maybe the most dominant. In 1988, Dale Murphy won the Roberto Clemente Award, which is given annually to the player that best represents the game of baseball through extraordinary character, community involvement, philanthropy, positive contributions on and off the field. The ultimate good guy. Being a good guy doesn't get you into the Hall of Fame, and it shouldn't get you into the Hall of Fame. But when you pair it with everything that Dale Murphy accomplished on the field, one of the best 6-year stretches in baseball history, when you look up at his all-time numbers, maybe they're a little light for the Hall of Fame. But if you value peak, the peak player that Dale Murphy was, well, we saw one of the best peaks of all time while being one of the best ambassadors you could ever ask for on and off the baseball field. I think Dale Murphy is the epitome of a Major League Baseball Hall of Famer. He's everything you want in a Major League Baseball Hall of Famer. An absolute star on the field. One of the best stretches in history. A Gold Glove defender. A guy that hit for pop. A guy that played every single day for multiple years. 162 games. Roberto Clemente Award winner. Back-to-back MVPs. Dale Murphy is a Hall of Famer. I think he should be in. Man, I would love to see Dale Murphy in the Hall of Fame. I absolutely think he's a Hall of Famer. Good guy or not. You add on that he's a good guy, and where's his extra little bump? Guys get a bump down when they're bad guys. Where's Dale Murphy's extra little bump if he's on the bubble? Which I don't think he should be on the bubble. I value peak. And we saw one of the greatest peaks ever with Dale Murphy. And I think he should be a Hall of Famer. So I think those are the big storylines. I'm happy for Jeff Kent. I do think he's a Hall of Famer. But Donnie Baseball, I would have a couple guys over Jeff Kent. Donnie Baseball, Dale Murphy, Barry Bonds. Roger Clemens is in the same conversation with Barry Bonds. Gary Sheffield, Carlos Delgado. For Jeff Kent to be the one guy on this ballot that gets in is crazy to me. It's crazy. But congratulations to Jeff Kent. And we will see 3 years from now, this committee will meet again. And Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Gary Sheffield, and Fernando Valenzuela will not be on the ballot. Dale Murphy will be. Don Mattingly will be. Carlos Delgado will be. So again, you can only vote for a max of 3 players. There will be 16 people on this committee. You can only vote for 3. So it's a fun committee. I love this. I love that this is a part of it because it gives a chance to right the wrong of the baseball writers. I don't know if we did that here. But it is the winter meetings right now. The winter meetings are taking place, and a lot always happens here. If you're wondering, I've mentioned it a couple times. What are the winter meetings? It's where all the teams and GMs and a lot of coaches and players show up if they're looking for jobs. And it's just, the winter meetings have been around for a long time. It began before the age of cell phones, before it was easy to call up another GM and say, let's make a deal. It was a time where GMs could get together and have meetings. And at the end of the night, you have your dinner, and at 10, 11 o'clock, hey, let's go up to the bar and grab a drink. And then you're writing trades and numbers down on pieces of paper, and trades are happening. So it's an old-time thing that predates cell phones so that deals could get done. Well, here we are now. We obviously have cell phones, but still everyone gathers at the winter meetings to get deals done. And we will see deals get done. Stuff will happen. It does every single year at the winter meetings. Big trades, big signings. The Juan Soto with the Mets, and the Juan Soto trade to the Yankees. And so many big deals happen at the winter meetings. But that is what's going on currently, right now, over the next couple of days. So a lot will happen. I'll probably do it. The next big signing that happens, we'll probably have another episode come out. I think we might be getting close on Kyle Schwarber. I think the Phillies are the favorite there. But Kyle Schwarber, I did want to also mention, reportedly has an offer from the Pittsburgh Pirates on the table, worth 4 years, and all we know, more than $100 million. Now, do I ultimately think he signs with the Pittsburgh Pirates? No, I think that's a long shot. I think the Phillies are the front runner. I think the Reds are in contention, hometown team, and I think the Mets to a degree are in contention. But the Pirates are on the board. They're in the room. And there's a lot of jokes to be made out there, deservedly so, when it comes to the Pirates. But you know what? Good for the Pirates here. Good for the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm not saying they're going to land Schwarber, but this is a real effort they're putting forth, and I'm happy to see it. And you can make all the jokes in the world of, oh, they're not really trying. They don't want it. They're going to trade all their good guys away anyways. Skeens is gone, blah, blah, blah. What's the deal worth? They're certainly not landing him. There's so many jokes to be made. But what I will say is they're listening. They're listening to the fan base, to Paul Skeens saying, look, I don't want to be traded. Cut the trade talk. I love it here in Pittsburgh. I want to be a part of this turnaround. And I need the front office to look in the mirror and go get some stuff done. Make it happen. And this is effort. This is real effort. Now, it takes more than effort. Sometimes you have to overpay to get the player you want to turn things around for an organization, but this is a step that I'm happy to see them take. They're at least in the hunt for an elite player in the game of baseball. And I appreciate that. And if they don't land him, don't say, man, that was the guy we wanted. Now we're gonna move on and run it back next year with what we got. What you got ain't good enough. What you got isn't able to keep Paul Skeens there and happy. Paul Skeens wants to be there. He wants to be a part of the turnaround. He's basically publicly forced the organization to do something. You can't do what you've always done and just say, okay, we're going to trade him away and get a bunch of good prospects. What are you looking for? The next Paul Skeens? It ain't going to happen. He said, I want to be here. I want to turn this around, and I want to be a part of it, and the organization needs to go get that done. And it's exactly what Pittsburgh needed, I think, is a player vocally saying, no, I want to be here. And this is seemingly effort. And I appreciate that. And you can make a joke about the effort. There's plenty of jokes out there, but I appreciate the effort. And I am hopeful, whether they sign Kyle Schwarber or not, that another player out there is going to land with the Pittsburgh Pirates. And it's going to take more than one player. They might need 2 or 3 big signings. And does that happen this offseason? No. But signing Kyle Schwarber to a 4-year deal is a good start. It gets the ball rolling. So we'll see. I'm impressed by the Pittsburgh Pirates being in the running for Kyle Schwarber, and I appreciate that they are in the running for Kyle Schwarber. We'll see what happens at the winter meetings. There is a lot going on. Everyone is meeting. Sometimes I go. From a media side of things, it's basically just like a big networking thing. That's what I realized. I went a couple years ago when it was in San Diego, and I realized it's just a big networking thing. I'm not in the game of breaking news, right? I'm not there trying to talk a GM's ear off to get some news and break that news. No, I just love the game of baseball. I want to grow the game of baseball. I want to help talk about the game of baseball in a positive way. So I don't know how much being there at the winter meetings does for me. But I'm not saying I'll never go again. I'm just not there. I'm not there this year. It's a big year. I'm getting married in 1 month. 1 month I'm getting married. Then traveling right after that. We got the World Baseball Classic this year, the season coming up after that. There's a lot going on. A lot going on. But the winter meetings are awesome. I love them. A couple signings will be coming here in the coming days. I wouldn't be surprised if one happens while this show is airing. Stuff is going to happen. Stuff is going to happen soon. And Flippin' Bats will be back to talk all about it. Fun week. I always enjoy the winter meetings. I appreciate you all for watching and listening throughout the offseason. I know baseball has been a little bit slow. The news has been slow. There hasn't been a ton of big signings, but Flippin' Bats rolls on. 2025, I said it from the beginning of January. 2025 is the year of Flippin' Bats, and what a fun year it was and has been, and it ain't over yet. A couple weeks left. So, kind of the pace of the offseason, I like to do an episode on Mondays. But if something else happens, if a big signing happens, I'll do another episode, and we'll just go from there. So be on the lookout on my social media, on the Flippin' Bats social media, wherever you watch. or are on social media. But check out the episode on YouTube. Subscribe there. You can watch every episode there. At Flippin' Bats Pod. Flippin' Bats Pod is our YouTube channel. Like the video. Leave a comment. I love hopping in the YouTube comments and talking to you guys and seeing your opinion and firing back a question or answering any questions. So the fun of the show kind of extends into YouTube. So go watch there. You can see it. You can comment, like the video, subscribe. All of that truly does help. But you can also listen wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever. And we are on all social media at Flippin' Bats Pod everywhere. Appreciate you all as always. I love this Flippin' Bats community. Truly, more than anything, because we'll just talk about the game in a positive way and tell you what you need to know. And we're not talking crap about most things around the league. I just love this community. Been going for 4 years now? 3.5, 4 years now? And I love it. I appreciate you all. And maybe we'll be back in a couple of days if a big signing happens. But no doubt we will be back next week for sure. So I appreciate you all. Enjoy the week of baseball. Stay on social media. Things are about to come out. I love you guys. Remember, until next time, find your bat and flip it. Peace.